the 25th anniversary of soul. How does that feel? You know what I mean? You all have been leaders, you know what I'm saying? Enlightening through your music, especially about like matters like mass incarceration, police brutality, systemic racism, political repression. And even after 25 years, these injustices are still having to be addressed today. Do you see a difference in the matters you were addressing then and, you know, the status that the community or the position the community was in back when you first started addressing these issues and now in today's society?
Well, I think Atlanta as a city is a lot stronger than it was back then. Back then, we were just growing as a city, and we really was just coming into ourselves. Right now, I think we're the most politically empowered black city in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's no other black city that's as strong as Atlanta as a culture.
That makes sense.
So for us, that's why we went back in the studio.
It's us in Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Lagos hell. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's us and them. You know what I'm saying?
And that was the main thing, like Timo said, we knew what we wanted to do with this album. First song we recorded was Survival Kit. And then it was like, it was on then because now we had a direction. Right. And I feel like, you got to look, Goodie never rapped like kids.
That's right.
So really, right now, I feel like we rap better than we did then because we are the men that we wanted to be back then.
Right. I mean, I can agree with that.
To add on to what Git was saying, I believe that, you know, as we speak, I believe that there is still, you know, what can I say? Like, you know, I can't say if it's a larger degree or lesser degree of systemic racism and so on and so forth when we started until now. I think that it's a given, you know, simply because it's a working part, you know, of American infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? Being that America is a corporation, it's a business. It's a part of the business model.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. So, you know, it is a cog.
It's a condiment.
Yeah, it's a like cog in the corporate structure, you know, and it's a cog in our condition. You know what I'm saying? Our living condition as well. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
I learned that trait too.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
When we first came out in '95, we was fighting the other shit.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So, but when people heard that the South was coming out with their own music, then we was dealing with the other racism from our own folk. We don't want to hear no South shit. Yeah. We don't want to hear that Bama shit. We don't want to hear nothing but that.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you brought that up, because you know what I'm saying? I came under fire.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? For making those statements, although I know these things to be true.
Yeah.
Because I was around. Not just around when I became T.I. I was around early on in my life because I made trips up top every summer. And as I speak about it, it's almost, and man, listen, man, I swear to God, motherfucker hate to hear me say this. The same way white folk don't like to hear about racism and slavery. Like, nah, that was old. This is like that anymore. We treat you good. You know what I'm saying? That's the same way our northern constituents, our brothers and sisters and counterparts up top, that's the same way they treat that shit. And they don't want to consider it. They don't want to acknowledge it. You know, they kind of just be like, the most logic I got from it came from Jay-Z.
Okay.
Bro called me, he was like, and we shared a great laugh about it. And he said, hey man, it wasn't because y'all were from the South. He was like, yo, those fucking old school hip hop heads, they did us like that too. Cause we were coming with the drug dealer rapping. We were getting money and shit. They hated on us the same way.
That's right.
They just couldn't take nothing but backpack shit. They just wanted everything to be by Mother Earth and incense and so on and so forth. He was like, he was like, it wasn't just y'all. That's the most logic.
Wow.
The deepest perspective. He's the only one who even attempted to address the issue with it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else was like, nah, man, nah, it ain't like that. You know what I mean?
I saw it addressed too because, like, you know, they were the older guard. They were patterning themselves after R&B acts. They were patterning themselves after Cameo and you know R&B, Earth, Wind and Fire. So with the costuming and the pageantry for stage and shit like that. So they hated. Actually didn't like Run DMC because it took a lot of that away. You know what I mean? Like they just came with just leather pants, shell-toe Adidas, how niggas off the street was dressing. So,
see, that's why I think, that kind of logic and perspective I can appreciate and I can consider.
True that.
And you know what I'm saying? I can say, okay, well, I can see that.
True that.
And, man, maybe it ain't that bad. But at the same time, I also remember what it was like to go from 6th grade Outkast being the hottest thing with Southern Player listed. I'm talking about the hottest thing. Going to New York, not hearing a peep.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what the fuck? Y'all ain't up on this? What's going on?
That shit was tough love up there.
And they're like, nah, man, we ain't trying to hear that shit, yo.
It was tough love, bro. I ain't gonna even lie. Because once I look back on it, New York, them your big brothers like, nah, you can't do that. Nah, you're going to have to prove to them.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So once we went up there and came back, started hitting the tunnel, started rocking, seeing us on the streets up there, man. The
tunnel somewhere I never got a chance. I ain't never get a chance to fuck with that. I fucked with Skate Key once. Not as a performer, but just as, just going in there and fucking around. You know what I'm saying? But I never got a chance to rock it.
I think we might have been one of the last few live performances in it before they shut it down.
Word.
It was crazy. That was crazy.
But see, I never understood the disconnect between the East and the South. I always felt like, we was relative. We the bottom end of the East Coast. I always felt like we was relative in that way.
Well, how I see it, from a society standpoint, the only way you know you on top is if you got somebody up under you.
They're right.
You dig what I'm saying? Right. I don't think it was anything personal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just feel like the only way that they could kind of really identify themselves as being the dominant force is if they had something to dominate.
True that.
You know what I mean?
But at the beginning, they were the only. I mean, like, they didn't even have counterparts. So I understand the entitlement of where something originated from, but I don't understand the arrogance. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's,
it's just like if you were born with it, this shit was, New York is the birthplace of hip hop.
Right.
The Bronx, I believe. The Bronx or Queens.
Right.
I think they go back and forth about it. But
Bronx.
But what I'm saying is, okay, when you have that from birth, and it isn't anything you had to necessarily fight for or earn, it was just something that it was a birthright.
Right.
Yeah.
So it comes with a certain an air of I already have this.
Right. So like if you didn't plan to have an effect, you didn't plan to have any offspring, that means you didn't even plan to procreate. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course you was going to give birth. Man. And people going to adopt. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
I think it's nobody thought that they would do it. I'm not going to say better than them.
That's what I was
going to say. Just as. I'm talking about neck and neck. You know what I mean?
But to be so different, I think that they kind of felt like in order to achieve the level of success or in order to have the shit be as good as their representation or their presentation, it would have to mimic it.
Right.
In such a way.
Right.
To go completely against the grain of what it is, the boom bap of what they, the origins of this art form.
Right.
To go completely against that with bass guitars, live instruments, and 808s, and you know what I mean?
Right. It's like I dare you to be inspired to be unique.
How dare you defy
and not emulate us to a T so we can still have contempt for you.
How dare you not emulate us so we can hold you accountable for trying to copy?
But this is the thing, is that when we talking about the relation, I always reference the way that Africa Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force, like, Planet Rock. I mean, I don't even know what you call that. When they created it, all he could call it was the perfect beat.
Right.
I possess the perfect beat. I love that. But then it ultimately became what we embraced as skating rink music, or Miami, Florida embraced as Miami bass. But it's still derivative.
You know how I see Planet Rock? Planet Rock is an evolution of Parliament Funkadelic.
True that.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
You dig what I'm saying?
And if you look at that costume, and that's what they were emulating. You know what I'm saying? But George Clinton's always been an optimist. You know what I'm saying? Like, he always had the foresight. He was the first person to not charge for samples and allow people to sample Parliament music, because there was a big conflict and controversy about that before he was more liberal. Yeah. Apparently, as legend goes, he's the one that convinced Rick James to let Hammer sample Super Freak.
Super Freak for Can't Touch This.
Yeah.
That's what's up.